You gotta rub your hands.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. You know what we're doing today?
Should I not do this in front of the mic? What are we doing today?
We're cooking today with a fistful of fire. Secret handshake. You ready? Do this. And just rub your face. Now we're flies. That's what flies do when they like taste food. They like rub their hands and they're like,
My face is all sweaty now.
dude, my hands are sweaty.
Why'd you do that? Why'd you make me do that?
Welcome back to the Jankyard Podcast, everybody. I'm Isaac.
I'm Logan.
And welcome back to the Jankyard Podcast, where we say welcome back to the Jankyard Podcast. Logan,
Welcome back.
welcome back. I have built a deck, and it has a philosophy behind it of a pretty simple, I guess, kind of idea. It's the idea that there are cards in Pioneer that are fantastic jank pieces that are used in highly competitive decks, but are not played in fantastic jank ways. I've made a deck around Arclight Phoenix.
Oh?
I think Is It Phoenix is a pretty cool deck. A red-blue Spellslinger is exactly where it fits in. But Phoenix's capability to come back from the graveyard so many times, so easily, is awesome.
Right.
And I want that to be sort of the center of the deck. It can come back multiple times. We're not just a Spellslinger deck. We're a sacrifice deck. Because this is a free sacrifice outlet. You ready to hear the whole deck?
Okay. This is intriguing.
We play 4 copies of Arclight Phoenix.
Okay.
Arclight Phoenix, you cast 3 instants or sorceries.
Instants or sorceries,
That's
yes.
the big piece. And it comes back from the graveyard, attacking and ready to go.
Yeah. During combat, it comes back.
It does, yes. Bloodfeather Phoenix. You heard of this card?
No.
It is from...
March of the Machine?
Yes, March of the Machine. Exactly. Could you read it off for the viewers?
Yeah, so this is a 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 2/2 flyer. It cannot block, and whenever an instant or sorcery you control deals damage to an opponent or battle, you may pay a red mana, and if you do, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it gains haste until end of turn.
So, you play a burn spell, and for 1 extra red mana, it comes back.
Okay.
You see where I'm cooking?
So the burn spells being things that can get the other Phoenix back, Arclight Phoenix.
Yeah, and that's already like instants or sorceries that are dealing damage.
Right.
Which is just mono red burn, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Now, to keep it in a spell-slingery type of deal, every instant or sorcery that we're playing, except for one of them, costs 1 mana.
Okay, this is very low ground.
Yes, we only play 1 card that costs 2 mana of an instance of sorceries. So we're going to start with these sacrifice payoffs. Corrupted Conviction. I'll stop you right there. You don't have to look it up. Look up Village Rites.
Oh, I know Village Rites.
You know Village Rites.
That's a very
Corrupted
good card.
Conviction, the exact same thing.
Okay.
It's a fantastic card. Sacrifice a dude, draw 2 cards. Gets the engine going, keeps it going.
Okay.
It's an instant, so you can play it at any time you want to while you're in, combat. If you just want to sack it right there, go for it. There is one other card, Collateral Damage.
I used to play this in mono red goblins back in standard during Cons of Tarkir.
And what does it do?
You sack a creature and it bolts something, right?
It does, for
Yeah.
1 mana. So, with that card, and with Bloodfeather Phoenix, you pay a red, bolt something, and then for 1 more mana after this resolves, you can bring it back from the graveyard.
That's not bad.
It's not.
That's kind of good.
Like
that's pretty neat.
You could say, oh, it's 2 damage or 2 mana for 3 damage. It's not that good.
It's 2 mana for 5 damage.
Yeah, it's 5 damage.
Yeah.
Because you get to attack with it, and you can keep going. You can also do that at instant speed. So what you can do is, while you're attacking, if they go, oh, I'm going to block it. Cool. Collateral damage anyway. Just shoot through for 3 damage.
So Bloodfeather Phoenix is also, you cast the instant or sorcery. It deals damage to an opponent or battle. Then you pay the red.
Yeah.
It comes back. Unlike Arclight, which only comes back during the combat step.
Yep.
Bloodfeather you can bring back whenever the heck you want. It could be on the opponent's turn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can do this at the end of their turn with, like 4 mana maybe. You could bolt, or you could Village Rites and bring them back. I mean, I guess Village Rites doesn't deal damage, but
Village Rites doesn't.
You could bolt and then for an extra mana bring back the Phoenix the same turn and then start your turn.
Exactly.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I also like the idea of Corrupting Dimension and Village Rites working on the first main phase with Arclight Phoenix.
For sure.
Because you can use it, hopefully draw into some more stuff, or already have some more stuff, and then just keep it going, keep it going. Now, to help with the sacrifice outlets, we're playing one more creature, Nezumi Linkbreaker. It's 1 black mana for a 1/1. When he dies, you make a mercenary. That's really all the part that we care about. It is essentially 2 creatures for 1 mana.
Okay.
And there are very few cards like that. There's that one. There's one from Eldraine. There's the guy that amasses one. There's a few of them. That guy seems like the best one. Because what you can do with the mercenary then is you can also, if you don't want to sacrifice it,
you can
pump up a Phoenix.
Right.
Exactly. So it's not like that bad of a card to play with this deck.
Okay.
I like that one.
This is just another sacrifice.
It's a dude to sacrifice.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
We're going to go into another section now. It's the discard section. Ways that we can get our Phoenixes into the graveyard.
Okay.
Because obviously Arclight Phoenix is 4 mana. We don't want to be casting that.
Right. I was going to say that's the point. So like if it's 4 mana, the point of Izzet Phoenix, which is like one of the best decks in the format, is you don't cast the Phoenix.
You don't.
You discard it with any number of spells so that you can, as you are paying all of these little 1 mana dudes, 1 mana instants and sorceries, you just bring it back later and keep hitting face.
Exactly.
The only creature you hardcast is Ledger Shredder, which is for a good reason.
Yeah, you play Ledger Shredder.
Right.
That's fine.
So I'm intrigued to see how you're gonna
so there are
do this.
there are ways you can mill Phoenix into the deck or into the graveyard. We don't really care about the milling side of things. We just care about the discarding side of things. So there are 2 cards, and this is also home to the only card that's 2 mana in the entire deck.
Okay.
Or that's 2 mana instant sorcery wise. The first one's Lightning Axe.
Okay.
Izzet Phoenix already plays that card. 5 damage.
It's a great card.
It can deal damage to face, right?
No, I think it's just creature.
That's still fine though, because that gets rid of.
Well, that kills Shieldred.
Yeah, that kills Shieldred.
That's very important.
What's the vampire?
Vein Ripper.
It kills Vein Ripper.
Which, of course, we don't care about sacking a creature because we'll sack the Phoenix and then bring the Phoenix back during combat.
Exactly. Yeah, we're fine. So that's why you can discard it, as well as we have Bitter Triumph. 2 mana instant as an additional cost to the spell. Discard a card or pay 3 life. So if you don't have a card we want to discard, we can just pay 3 life.
Okay.
Destroy target creature or planeswalker.
Okay. That's
so
not
interaction.
too bad. Yeah.
Interaction. Gets us there, discard the thing. It's also fuel to get Arclight Phoenix back from the graveyard. Again, the big thing is we want all of these cards to be multi-versatile. So killing a thing, discarding a thing, potentially bringing a thing back. This card does a lot for us. Clears the skies, clears whatever we want. And then the last section I've got here is direct damage to face. I've got 4 copies of Play with Fire.
It's a good card.
Great card.
Good card.
So it's shock, but better.
Yeah.
Because you can scry. And then 4 copies of Sewer the Critics. Fantastic card.
Yeah.
Bolt for 1. Excellent card. All the damage to face stuff can bring back Bloodfeather Phoenix.
For sure.
Fantastic. Oh, for 1 more mana, we get our Phoenix back. Cool. And then we can sacrifice to draw cards. Cool. And then we can do this, that, and the other thing. Excellent. And then 4 Spikefield Hazards.
Okay.
There are opportune times for us to play tapped lands, namely turn 1, turn 2. Maybe you might be able to do it later. But it is also just 1 damage
to trigger Bloodfeather.
Also bring it back, yeah.
Right.
And it's an instant, and it works with Arclight.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic.
Very interesting.
So that's the whole deck. It's red-black Phoenix. And the whole idea is just sacrificing things, drawing cards. It's got a lot of kill spells. It's got a lot of ways out. And I think it's got a good amount of versatility. In red-black as well, there are a lot of just straight kill spells.
For sure.
Yeah. And there's also a couple different ways that we can discard cards. The first one that comes to mind for me is Demand Answers. It's better Tormenting Voice kind of deal. 2 mana, discard a card, or sacrifice an artifact. We don't play artifacts, so it doesn't really matter. Draw 2 cards. So it gets something out of our hands, refills the hands, does what we need it to do. I just found that 2 mana, again, we're trying to keep this thing super low to the ground. 2 mana wasn't really on the list. Another card that I looked at was Eaten Alive. It's from the Innistrad sets. As an additional cost to this spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 4 mana. It's normally just 1 mana, and it's exile target creature or planeswalker. So in some aspects, it's better than Bitter Triumph, but I liked Bitter Triumph a little bit more. It is still 2 mana, but it does have that out of, if I can just pay 3 life, I can still do its effect.
Right.
Cool. So if I'm up against, like, Rakdos vampires and they have way more removal than me, I can still just pay 3 life to get rid of their Vein Ripper.
Right.
That's not
assuming
too bad.
you have a Phoenix to sacrifice.
Yeah. Fatal Push was in the original list as well. But in the end, I decided Fatal Push was stupid and I hated mainstream cards, except for the one we're playing.
That's weird. I would absolutely throw 4 copies of Fatal Push in here. I
feel
understand
like,
the hate
I feel
for
like
it.
a regular list would.
Because you're sacking so many permanents. You're sacking all of your creatures. If you're in Rakdos Phoenix,
That's fair, actually.
it's 1 mana, kill anything 4 or less. Also kills Sheoldred.
Another card I had in the deck was Bedlam Reveler.
Okay.
I was thinking
That's an
maybe
odd
one
choice.
copy. Well, I mean, it works with instants and sorceries. It's got prowess. It's got a decent sized body. We can't trigger it as fast as some other decks would. But I've seen the art before, but I haven't ever seen it played.
Well, it's because it's...
Okay.
It's Bedlam Reveler reminds me a little bit of a way worse Murktide Regent. You know, the card for Modern. It's kind of similar, which I actually think this was printed before Murktide was, because that was a Horizon set, I believe.
Yeah.
But it does the same kind of thing. It can get out there pretty quickly depending on how many instants and sorceries you're playing. And it refills the hand. It's solid for burn, I think, but it's a little slow for what people are trying to do, which is why I don't think it sees as much play. I do think it's a fun card, though.
Yeah, I think it's pretty neat. One of the cards I had in the deck as well was Light of the Stage.
I think that's not too bad.
I think it's too bad, but it just didn't work with the deck in the end, because you exile the cards, they stay exiled. You could exile a Phoenix and then never get that Phoenix back again.
Assuming, you probably don't want to hard cast Arclight off of your exile.
Considering we only have 8 Phoenixes, I'd like to keep as many as possible. I don't think I have as much discard as Is It Phoenix, though.
Right.
Also,
well, a lot of Is It Phoenix's discard is those 1 mana instants and sorceries that can get them back as well.
Yeah.
Consider surveilling, sleight of hand, putting 1 into your graveyard. It would be the Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of ways to do that.
And I think hitting the 3 mana to 4 mana range is like right where we want to be. 5, 6 mana could be even better if we have more Bloodtail or more Bloodfeather Phoenixes. But ultimately, going past that is just a waste. If we made it to that turn at this point with this deck, I'd be a little concerned. I'm not sure how quickly the deck could kill, because again, I haven't played this thing yet. I just quickly made the list and was like, here it is, 4 copies of everything. But I think a shell like this, where you have the ability to sack your Phoenixes to get more value out of them, is pretty good. Like, sure, you can have the option of counter spells and controlling the board and getting what you want and drawing things, but ultimately that Phoenix is going to come back if it dies. And so I think at this point in Pioneer, a lot of people know, I can just leave the Phoenix on the board until combat starts. What if you just sacked your Phoenix? What if you just kept popping it in and out of the board? What if you kept flickering the Phoenix in a way?
Right, assuming we're still trying to kill them with the Phoenix. Because, Is It Phoenix has an interesting thing where, I mean, they printed Ledger Shredder and then everybody was like, oh, this is just the best deck ever now. Prior to that, it was still used, though, and it was just used with, Crackling Drake, which is still in the sideboard. But this is still a deck that you're going to keep bringing the Phoenix back and keep hitting with the Phoenix. So, assuming we just want to stick with hitting with Phoenix, it works. We've seen it in this deck.
Yeah.
It works perfectly fine. The real question for how this deck can do is, can it do it about as quick? Probably not, but you're also speeding things up with burn spells. Maybe you have more interaction. You've got more kill spells. You have more ways to handle the board than maybe Phoenix does, or Is It Phoenix does, because Is It Phoenix, a lot of those instants and sorceries are just cantrips. It's those, I'm going to shove my Phoenixes into the graveyard, and that's the point of it.
Yep.
Assuming we have payoffs for that outside of that, I actually think this could be doable, because we have ways of discard. How many ways you have the kill spell to pay 3 life or discard a card?
I do.
To kill something. How many other ways of, as an additional cost, discard a card?
There is Lightning Axe. Yeah, there's not a lot of ways to discard cards.
That's my only concern with the deck right now is, do you have ways of discard? Because we have things like Village Rites in there that can draw us cards, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But we don't want to draw the Phoenix. Mm-hmm. We want the Phoenix to go into the yard so it's easier to get back out. Mm-hmm. So that's personally my biggest gripe with the deck right now. Otherwise, I think it's fine. How many? So we have Lightning Axe.
We do.
We have the kill spell
Bitter Triumph.
Bitter Triumph. So how do you feel about if we're discarding the card? Do you want it to kill something, or do you want it to generate more card draw? Do you want it to replace itself? Like if so, I have a card suggestion as maybe this is kind of good for the deck that we're doing. Is Collective Brutality. 2 mana, 1 and a black. It's escalate, discard a card. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose an instant or sorcery from it. That player discards that card. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Target opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Maybe not the most value that you could get out of that, but that lets us discard 2 cards for 2 mana, and we can get a life swing, a little mini life swing. We can look at the opponent's hand, see what they've got cooking. Figure out some interesting ideas for things that we could do. And if that works, then maybe this is worth using. But it is a little bit of a small payoff as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, does the Spectacle trigger off of life loss or damage dealt?
You may cast the spell for its Spectacle cost rather than its mana cost if an opponent lost life this turn.
Okay. So this would
trigger Spectacle, which means for 4 total mana, and potentially, that's a lot of setup. 2 mana sorcery, cast Collective Brutality, escalate to discard 1 card. You do the life swing, you look at the opponent's hand, grab an instant or sorcery, discard it. Then for 1 red, you skewer the critics. Then for 1 red, you Bloodfeather, assuming that the card that you discarded was Bloodfeather. So you discard Bloodfeather with Collective Brutality.
So in that case, you would spend 4 mana and not get Arclight back if you had an Arclight.
You also
so our sweet spot would be 5 mana. So 20 land is what we need
to get to for having the amount of stuff you want to do.
To be comfortable.
Probably.
You could do a combo like that for super cheap. There's got to be a 1 mana discard a card, right?
Thoughtseize. Oh, you mean us? We do.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Thoughtseize. No way, dude. But I don't care what the opponent's playing. I'm playing Phoenixes. It doesn't do a good job at doing one thing, and it does a pretty mediocre job at doing a lot of things.
It's probably why no one plays it. But I think it's a pretty good card for this deck. My only gripe is that the different modes it has are but it's just because it's a 2 mana card. They don't want the different modes, assuming that you could discard 2 cards. They don't want all the modes to be really good. They want them all to be worth 2 mana.
Yeah.
So you're basically, if you're discarding a card, you're discarding a card that would otherwise be worth 2 mana. This is an option if we need more discard. The deck does need playtesting, see how it works, but assuming this works well, you could probably run something a little extra in order to get the extra discard that you think. And I think Collective Brutality is a good card for that.
It's not. It gets rid of a lot of stuff in your hand, honestly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, outside of that, I don't think the deck needs too much aside from some good playtesting.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the deck. I think it's kind of fun.
I think it's pretty wacky. So the full final deck list that we did a little bit of changes, not too much. Creatures. You still have the 4 Bloodfeather Phoenix, the 4 Arclight, and the 4 Nezumi Link Breakers. Link Breakers are good sack outlets. Your sacrifice payoffs. We played 4 Corrupted and 4 Village Rites. We dropped 1 of those, so rather than 8 total, there's 7. And then we have 4 Collateral Damages. For our discard outlets, we kept 4 Lightning Axe, 4 Bitter Triumphs, and we added in 3 Tormenting Voice effects. The option we chose was Demand Answers, because that one has instant speed. You have the option to sacrifice the artifact a couple different ways. For direct damage to face, we ended up doing 3 Play with Fires and 3 Skewer the Critics. And then lands, it was 4 Spikefield Hazards, 2 Kazu's Fury, and 14 Mountains. We ended up not dropping a mountain, stayed with 20 because we figured we wanted to reach 4 or 5 mana.
All right. That's not too bad. I think that's a funny deck. Maybe someday we will playtest it.
Here's open.
Phoenix by itself isn't that expensive aside from the Ledger Shredders and the lands. So assuming
perfect. We're not playing Ledger Shredder.
Assuming you can just build the deck for dirt cheap, that's probably not a bad one to take to Friday Night Magic and have some fun with, which is where you're going to go 0-4.
There you go. 0-4, baby. That's the goal. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate your patronage. Really appreciate you watching. We're going to put our deck list up somewhere. Check us out on... God, where are we? We're on TikTok. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube.
Instagram.
There's a few other places out there.
You can find us. Just search the Jankyard.
There's gonna be a link there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one.